Let's get cracking into the issue of housing. This must be the biggest issue facing Auckland, possibly the biggest issue facing the country. The government, the Prime Minister, the ministers say there is no housing crisis. Anyone who thinks there is not a crisis in housing in Auckland, start speaking now.
There is a crisis in housing. And I think the person who is best to deal with that is someone who understands the unitary plan and who knows that it's not a silver bullet, actually. We could have built more affordable housing in the areas like Henderson and Manukau and Takapuna. We could have brought that under the old rules. What we've got to do is rewrite the budget, rewrite the Auckland plan, put more funding into the bulk infrastructure, the water and the roads, and actually get council working a lot quicker.
All right. Does anyone here want house prices to fall in Auckland?
I'd like them to stabilise.
Yeah. No, but more affordable housing.
Let's start. You've had a good run, Mark. Let's start with Phil Goff.
Yeah. The fact is, I don't think either the council or even the government will determine whether house prices fall or not. I think that if the bubble gets sufficiently big and then there's an external shock or interest rates go up quite sharply, then house prices will fall, as they fell in Dublin by 43%.
Do you think, are you worried about that? Do you think that that is going to happen?
I hope not. I hope not, for the sake of the tens of thousands, particularly of those people that have bought their homes in the last couple of years, because if house prices suddenly fall, they're left with negative equity. They're left with a much bigger debt than they have in the value of their home, and that then has an impact on the wider economy, and that could well push us into recession. That's why we've got to stop the housing bubble getting bigger. It's the most urgent problem we face today.
It's $1 million at the moment, isn't it, for an average?
That's right.
Absolutely.
Look, the only way that we're going to be able to stabilise the housing market is to build more homes. We're currently 30,000 homes short, and every year we add another 5,000 homes short. And what is that causing? That is causing multiple problems across Auckland. So you've got the issue of people sleeping rough, you've got the issue of people on social welfare actually not being able to afford to live here, and then you've actually got a new issue that's emerging that we haven't seen before, that those households earning around $50,000 to $80,000 can no longer ever afford to buy a home in Auckland. So we've locked a whole generation of Aucklanders out of the market.
We're pretty well
because
aware,
we don't have enough homes.
We're pretty well aware. We know these problems exist. So what is it that you think you would be able to bring as a solution other than the unitary plan? I mean, it looks like the council has done what it can with the unitary plan. What, other than that, are you proposing to do?
Well, there's a lot more than we can do from just the unitary plan. The first thing we have to do is make more land available, and council and government are the biggest land owners in Auckland, and there's so many examples of council sitting on land or buildings that are unoccupied. So you can't say to Auckland, we need more homes, and then not make them available. The second is the consenting process. We have to streamline it, and it has to be more cost effective. The third is the infrastructure. We need infrastructure into these growth areas faster, and definitely targeting the government's infrastructure fund. And the fourth one is the type of homes. We need more affordable housing. So that does look like more apartments, more townhouses, and more homes around that 500,000 mark.
John Polino, you're shooting big here. You want to build a new city. Tell us about that plan.
Look, you know,
tell us where it's going to be too.
It's in Mark. It's in South Auckland.
It's a fair question.
It's beyond the metropolitan urban boundary for many reasons. Look, cities around the world have built satellite cities. You got Brisbane that's built Springfield. Melbourne's now building Geelong. Perth's actually building another satellite city. And the reason for that is because you're able to accommodate quite a lot of people and build homes very quickly in an open area and in greenfield.
I mean, Mark's question's a fair one. It's the most obvious one. Where is the city?
Well, we have to go beyond the metropolitan urban boundary where the land is 8 times cheaper than the land on the other side of the boundary, which is down in Pukekohe area. Pukekohe, Papakura, that area. But look, while we're growing population and we're growing housing, if you don't grow jobs at the same time and grow police and fire departments, schools, and all those things, if you don't grow them at the same time, you have no plan. The unitary plan is only a zoning map. It's only 10% of what a real growth plan is. It's only a zoning map. It only tells us where we're going to build houses. It doesn't tell us how we're going to build them and how we're going to include all those other amenities.
I'll get a brief reaction to that from Mark Thomas, and then I want to go to the first of our audience questions this morning. So, Mark Thomas, new city, it's a big idea.
So we've got 10 metro centres, as they're called, as part of the unitary plan. You can call them satellite cities, you can call them whatever you like. They're actually part of what we've been working on for 4 years.
No, they're not part of it.
They're based around transport hubs. They're actually opportunities for us to grow more quickly.
So you don't think we need Polinoville?
I think that we've got Aucklandville, and actually we can have Aucklandville. We can have Aucklandville with more affordable housing. If you get a mayor who's putting more of our resourcing into the Hendersons, the Manukau's, areas where
Which was my policy for 3 years.
where we have significant council landholding. We've been holding ourselves back. So council's been a big part of the problem. You talk to business, and you'd say actually we could have had more affordable housing in the last 3 years.
Yeah, okay. We will get a business take on this, but we're going to talk to our audience first. The first of our audience questions from AUT student Laura Tupo. Good morning to you, Laura. What's your question?
Maloi Lele. My question is, I'm from a Pacific community, and in Māori communities as well, we don't have the luxury of generational wealth. So, house prices have topped $1 million in Auckland. I can't get on that rung, leveraging off my parents' wealth. How are you? What is the one policy that you have that you're going to rapidly increase the supply in Auckland and ease these house prices?
Well, and we're going to quickly go down. We're going to go down the podium. Phil Goff first, and keep these brief, and because we want Laura to have a fair crack at an answer here.
I think your point's an excellent one. My two boys have got into homes because mum and dad could afford to lend them the deposit on it. That's not possible for a lot of families that haven't got the capital base to do that from. I think the biggest thing that needs to be done here, the biggest lever of power is held by government, and that is to go back to providing starter homes. When I was Minister of Housing, a third of all the homes we started were designed for people that were buying their first home. They were cheaper. We need to work with central government to bring that back. We also need to do more in the way of social housing, because the people at the bottom of the heap are the people that are being crucified by this housing crisis.
Okay, Vic Crone.
Well, I talked about 4 things earlier, but on top of that, actually, there's a whole new market that I believe we need to create in Auckland, and that is impact investing. So we've got some fabulous examples of social housing services, such as the Housing Foundation, and what we need to do is connect them with investors in New Zealand and globally who can help us build out the supply of affordable homes to people not just like yourself, but to those families that I talked about, who have both parents working with a couple of children and are facing a lifetime of rent. Okay. That market doesn't exist, and we need to grow it.
John Polino.
What we have right now is we have a plan that allows developers to build a house here, a house there, a house there. Look, by opening up the land, we acquire that land, we're able to build 35,000 homes within 3 years. The satellite city is what the rest of the world does. We can fit 300,000 people in that area. But not only that, while that city's growing, we're able to build those homes for under 400,000. We can have residential properties for 300,000 because the land beyond the metropolitan urban boundary is worth $10,000 per household lot, where on the inside of the boundary it's now up to $550,000 per lot. So we're able to reduce the cost of that land. We're able to build so people can afford it. But the most important thing is that while we're building that growth, we need to have schools. We need to have police, fire department, ambulance, and everything else that goes along with that town, that city.
Okay, we're getting off topic there. You've made your point. You've got your new city. Mark Thomas.
So Phil's answer is to bang the table and ask the government to do more, because that's the only play he knows. He's been doing that all his life. What I know as part of Auckland Council for 6 years is I'll create special development authorities. That's what I'm calling them as part of my growth plan. A version of the government's urban development authority where we can actually concentrate more resources and expertise to get more affordable housing. But the second thing I'll do is partner with those groups that know their communities well. In my own ward of Aoraki, Ngāti Whātua is building whānau-based housing where they're actually encouraging people and low-income earners to actually own the home. So let's partner more effectively with community providers like that.
Okay. All right. Laura, do you feel any more confident about getting on the housing ladder after those answers?
Honestly, not really, right. but I'm hopeful. I am hopeful. if you.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for that. Let's, before we leave housing, just touch on the issue of homelessness, and because as I think some of you guys did mention, obviously that's the really sharp end of this. Phil Goff, you want to house the homeless in the old Mount Eden prison, or have I got that wrong?
No, I was approached.
Is that what you want to do?
I was approached by a group of people who work with the homeless and said, would you approach the Minister of Corrections to see if we would have that facility open to us? And my first instinct was, what, use a prison to put the homeless in? And then I thought about it. It's been empty for 7 years. It's got gymnasiums, it's got cooking facilities, it's got shower facilities, it's got sleeping facilities. If you could upgrade it, it's an option you should look at. No, look, that's not the answer. That's a very short-term emergency housing option. The real answer to homelessness is dealing with the shortage of housing, one, and secondly, for the chronically homeless, housing first. Put a person in a house and then put a wraparound service to deal with the causes of their homelessness. Yes. If it's things like mental health or addiction.
This is a big issue in our city. Have any of you candidates gone and spent time, gone and have a look? Gone and
absolutely.
You have? Tell us about it.
Yes, I have. So I was interviewed, in fact, John Campbell interviewed me, your colleague, with a homeless person about my plan to actually take more action than any mayor's ever done, and that's to use vacant buildings that council has. So we've had the Civic Building, the old head office for council here in Auckland, vacant for 2 years. It's actually subtenanted, so it can be used. We could have used that as a temporary shelter to actually sort of provide more pressure on government so they can get in there and provide the services they need. I've done a lot of work with the City Mission and talked to both them and Lifewise about my plans. They know there's more than mayor that they can do. We don't need 10-year plans. We're halfway into our third 10-year plan to solve homelessness, and it's getting worse. Council can take action by using resources that we control.
Okay, part of this whole debate, do you have a word on homeless?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, let's go quickly. Well, that's generous.
It's unusual, isn't it?
John Bellino.
Sure, look, my restaurant down in Takanini sits on Bruce Pullman Park on the back end of it. I've been out there with the homeless for the past 8 months. We usually go out on a Monday night and bring them soup and such. You know, there were some issues that people don't even realize down there. I had originally, a while back, I went to go see one of our MPs, and I said, look, why don't we get the Army out there to set up marquees and all, kitchens and everything? They could actually keep these people warm at night. I was told that's not what they want. I said, I don't think you understand what these people want. You know, you think that these people don't want help, but they actually do want help. The problem is that when the media goes down there, they don't want you to see they have children in the car with them. You know, that's what they don't want you to see. You know, I give a gentleman some soup. Actually, it's Jason. And I said, would you like another soup? He'll take a second cup, but he won't take a third cup. You know why? Because at 9 o'clock, the toilets close, and they're afraid that they don't want to eat too much because they don't want to have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and there's no toilet there. We have to be actually with the people and understand what the real issues are if we really want to take care of it. And I'm out there, and I'm in there helping them.
Victoria Crone.
Yeah, so for me, what I observe, and not just from government, but from these candidates and local council, is ideas that just come and mow over the top of some incredibly good services out there. So Lifewise and there's other services are already doing a great job at not just understanding, to John's point, the impact of homelessness and how you solve it, but putting solutions around it. So I actually believe the Mayor should play a role in championing homelessness and bringing together not just the providers but the resourcing, and then actually transparently reporting back to the public of Auckland as to the progress we're making. I don't think it's up to the council to come and run over with ideas. We know the council don't do this well and they haven't solved it already. So we must partner with communities and providers around this.
Part of this whole debate about housing and the pressure is, part of it is population.